Good evening, everyone. Tonight, Vision Loss Alliance presents to you Mystic Access, where the magic is in learning. Mystic Access is a company that strives to support and empower people who are blind and visually impaired through providing comprehensive, professionally produced audio tutorials and personalized one-on-one and group training opportunities. Mystic Access believes in creating an enjoyable environment for learning and interacting with assistive technology. We welcome Chris Nova and Kim Loftus. I'm going to read their bio a bit, and then we'll let them formally start and say hello. So Chris is the founder of the Mystic Access podcast, where he enjoys sharing about both well-known and more unique pieces of assistive technology. He has been working in the assistive technology industry for over 2 decades and has been using assistive technology in his own life for even longer. In addition to his vast experience writing product documentation, producing audio tutorials, alpha beta testing products, and providing through training and customer support, Chris was also instrumental in the product cycle and development of RailNote, GPS, Sense Navigation, and Sandero PC Maps. A lifelong user of assistive technology, Kim Loftus began co-hosting the Mystic Access podcast in mid-2014. Kim conducts writing, marketing, production, and editing for Mystic Access, in addition to recording and voiceover work. One of Kim's proudest achievements as part of Mystic Access are the books that she has written and co-written for National Braille Press. As a certified personal and spiritual coach, Kim uses many years of coaching experience to enhance her work with those who are struggling or frustrated with their assistive technology. Before we move on to our presentation for this evening, let's review our Tech Talk format. As Chris and Kim present, they will let you know when they are ready for questions. When they open the floor for questions, we do ask that you use the raise your hand feature. We'll review that for those of you who dialed in. The raise your hand feature is *9. That will raise your hand. *6 will mute and unmute you, giving you the opportunity to ask your questions. If you are on a computer, Alt-Y is raise your hand. Alt-A is the mute and unmute command. Using the Zoom app on the iPad top right, select the More option on the top of the screen and flick down to raise hand. On the iPhone, this feature is located at the bottom of the screen on the right-hand side. Tonight's topic, accessible TV. Are you wondering what types of solutions are available? Are you looking for a low-cost option accessible to you as a low vision or blind TV user? Well, you have tuned in to the right place. Stay tuned for tips on choosing the best options available to you. So turn on your TVs and tune in with VLANJ Tech Talks, and we welcome Chris Nova and Kim Loftus.
Thank you, Linda. It's so much fun to be with you guys. We really appreciate the opportunity to share with you and hopefully provide some tips that will be useful to you. So our intros told you a bit of who we are. We provide audio documentation. That is our primary experience that we provide to people. And we've done a whole lot of information. And one of the series of documentation that we created in 2018 is the first time we did it. We've actually done 2 courses and they turned into an extensive product, was on cutting the cord. And you may have heard this term and kind of thought, well, okay, I've heard this term, but what exactly does it mean? So we'll talk about that. And then I think we'll mention as we get closer, as we get further down here, a couple of other accessible TV things that you may want to consider. So what is cord cutting? Cord cutting is essentially killing the cable bill. Now, you don't have to kill the cable bill because there are other ways that you can accessibly watch your TV and enjoy your shows. But there are lots of affordable and interesting options that can be made available to you through this option. There's also an option called cord shaving, which is essentially, okay, I have one cable box for my digital cable subscription, and the rest of my TVs perhaps don't. Maybe I'll watch something else, a standalone service utilizing one of my other TVs, and just keep cable on one box, because those boxes get expensive that you got in every room of your house, or however many TVs you happen to have, depending on how many of you there are, or maybe you just happen to have several in your home. So what cord cutting does is allow you to pare down on price while hopefully keeping strictly the channels that you want. And you may have a little bit of bloat in terms of some channels you don't want, but generally speaking, you can cut your price and watch what you want to watch. So there's a lot of options available for making this happen. And we're going to talk a little bit about what you need to get started with this process. So you need a TV, first and foremost, but you don't really. You just need something that you can watch TV on. So even if you don't have a TV in your house at this point, you don't need one. However, you can use one if you wish. You can use your iPhone, your iPad, an Android device, in some cases an Amazon Fire device, to watch your TV. There are a few, and we're not really going to touch on this so much tonight, but there are a few instances in which you can use your computer, a Mac or PC, to watch TV. So you don't necessarily need a hardware TV with a screen in order to watch your programs or your shows.
I have this covering.
So how do you want to be able to watch? Well, you've got these options. You've got an app. You've got your TV, as I said. That's something that you could do. Or you can use something called a set-top box, which is plugged into your TV. And Chris, do you want to talk a little about those?
Sure. Those are little boxes or sticks. Some they come in a box, some come in a stick. And you can connect those to your TV, and you can watch TV shows via the app. Some of the more famous ones are the Amazon Fire Stick and the Roku line of products. You can get those. Another set-top box would be the quote Apple TV quote. And the funny thing about some of these specific hardware products, like the Apple TV is not a TV. So it is not a TV with a screen. It is a little box that connects to your TV and utilizes that. The Fire TV, however, can be a little confusing because they do have Fire TV sticks, Fire TVs, which are little boxes. And then they have things that are called Fire Edition TVs. Those are actual TVs with physical screens that have the Fire software preloaded or pre-installed on the TV itself. The advantage of something like that is your TV is going to talk. So Roku actually has partnered with some TVs that include their software on a physical TV with a screen. And again, that does allow the TV to talk as well. And let's just step away for a second about talking TVs. Samsung also has talking TVs with a voice guide feature on it. So the TVs themselves, all the settings and everything like that, do speak. So when you go to HDMI 1 to use your Fire Stick, you're going to know you're on HDMI 1 instead of guessing and getting frustrated because you don't remember how to get to HDMI 1, HDMI 2, or HDMI 3, or however many yours has, and then figure out how to get back to your actual cable box. So having a talking TV is actually quite nice.
The other thing about these that's important to understand is that they're not the TVs from 1990. They're smart TVs. So not only do they allow you to watch your channels, whatever they are, your locals or whatever channels you utilize, but in many cases, they have other services, some of which we're going to discuss tonight, built in. So you know, the apps that you have on your iPhone or an Android device, something like that, these TVs have apps built into them as well. And the same thing with the Apple TV, the little box, the Fire TV box, the Roku boxes. And these boxes, when we're talking about boxes, they're literally about the size of a deck of cards. So we're not looking at anything big and huge. I'll never forget my mother buying her Apple TV, and she thought she was going to go buy this huge thing. And it came out in this little bitty box. And she said, they sent me the wrong thing. Look at this little bitty box, how little it is. And I said, no, that's what you're supposed to get. You plug it into your TV. So they're very compact. In fact, at one time, I think I had my Apple TV and then I had my Fire Stick sitting on top of my Apple TV. I think in that case, I had a Fire TV back when they were making those. It was a little box, essentially. So they were sitting on top of each other. So they're very, very compact little devices. And you can access not only the regular channels that you would access, but in many cases, you can access things like YouTube. You can access music services. Some things like the Fire TVs have the Amazon Alexa built into them. So you've got a virtual assistant built in. So you've got a whole bunch of stuff that you can do with these. While TV is our main focus, it's just worth pointing out that these are way more than watching TV. Even the Chris's little Samsung that he was talking about a minute ago, I think that had quite a bit built in as well, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It had Netflix. It had Amazon Prime. It had a few other apps, and you could also download them. Now, let's talk a little bit about these apps. Not every TV app is created equally. Some of them are more accessible than the others, and some of the major players are more accessible than the non-major players. And by major players, I mean the Disney Pluses, the Amazon Primes, the Netflix, Hulu. You know, those services seem to be more accessible than some of the non-mainstream or non-backed by big companies, if you will, TV services.
Yeah. And the other thing to note is some services work better on some platforms. Now, this is one of those icky problems that we have to deal with vision loss. Sometimes when you're purchasing service, you don't necessarily know where it works best. Okay, it's not only does it work, should I use it on my iPhone? Should I use it on a Fire Stick? Should I use it on an Apple TV? Because it might work different on all three of those devices. So there's a little bit of trial and error involved in some of these things. And if you don't have all those devices, which a lot of people don't, then you're kind of wondering, well, what do I do? And then you have to find and do your research and kind of see if people have vetted that process for you and what turns out to be the most accessible option for you for the service you want. Speaking of services, let's talk a little bit about what they entail. So we have a couple things. We have on-demand content and we have live streamed channels. There's a difference in those. On-demand content is your pre-recorded content or your content that is in a streaming format that is not live. So we're talking about things like Netflix, Disney Plus, and a lot of the Amazon Prime information as well. Has movies, documentaries. When a Prime, you may have heard of a Prime channel on Amazon Prime. Those aren't live streamed channels. They're full of a whole video depository of on-demand content. So hundreds or thousands of hours of shows and movies and documentaries and things that you can watch that have already streamed somewhere live, most likely, or they've gone straight to, remember those straight to video or direct to video back in the day? Kind of like that. So they're going straight to your on-demand library that you can check out. Those services, the on-demand services, those that focus strictly on on-demand content are usually cheaper, though not always. Then we have live streamed channels. So if you want to watch, let's say Discovery Channel, if you want to watch the live stream of Discovery Channel, what you would be watching on your cable box, then you want to get a live service that supports it. So if you know what your favorite channels are, you would want to then find an on-demand or a live service that would stream that channel live so that you can watch it in real time. And the reason I messed up a second ago is because the next one is a combination of both. So a lot of these services offer streaming channels, but also big libraries of on-demand content. So let's say you wanted to watch your favorite show and you missed it. And you're like, oh no, I really wanted to see it. You've got a couple options with some of these services. Some of them offer accessible DVR options. Yay! I love DVR now that I can actually access it. The other option is you can look in the on-demand library. All you have to do is find a search box, do a search for the program, and it'll come up. And then you can usually go through seasons and then episodes within each of those seasons. Or if it's a movie, you can just find the movie and you can watch it right there. So you didn't have to DVR it. You didn't have to worry about missing it. And it shows up on demand. Hulu is known for this especially. You can watch something the day before it'll air. And then the next day, when you're ready to watch it, you can watch it through Hulu. And it works like that on a lot of the different channels, especially some of the ABC, CBS, NBC channels. A lot of their programs will air next day on Hulu, the on-demand version of that program. Some of the services as well have something called originals. You want to talk about that for Netflix, for instance? Netflix is a good example.
Sure. Those are original content, is content that can only be viewed on that specific service. They created it specifically for that service. For example, the new Lost in Space that came out recently over the past couple of years, that's a Netflix original. And or some of the other originals that are on other services as well. Basically what it means is it's exclusive to that service.
So you may have heard of The Handmaid's Tale, for instance, the series that was made out of the books. That is a Hulu original, and you can watch it only on Hulu. Netflix has things like Bridgerton, Ozark, all kinds of things that are available. And you may have heard of some of these. They've gotten Emmys and Oscars, and I mean, it's been really huge buzz that these services, that these options, these shows are getting for these big services. So Netflix is a huge player in offering tons of originals, and they become so popular that you find out as quickly when they're renewed as, say, something on CBS or ABC.
An interesting thing about originals, and that is they can do what's called binge watching.
Yes.
And you can, depending on how much time you have in the day, you could go through one of these originals in a weekend, just binge one episode to the next episode to the next episode. So in that instance, there's no going to work and having a water cooler discussion about the episode that you watched on TV last night, because all of them are dropped at once.
Yeah, they might launch an entire season. The Crown's a good example of that on Netflix. They would launch entire seasons at a time, and we'd all sit there for a weekend and binge them. So it's kind of fun. Now, the thing to note about a Netflix, a Hulu, things like that is while they're relatively inexpensive, they add up. If you have more than one, Netflix just went up again. What is it now? Like $15? I think it was like $8 when I started, or $7. So that's been several years ago.
It's close. It depends on, they have different tiers for some of these services too, depending on how good of definition you want, how many screens you want to watch them on. And, so it could really depend. Some of them, like Disney Plus, for example, you pay a certain amount and that's it. There is no, higher definition or lower definition, but Netflix is one of those that I think there's 3 tiers. One is low definition, one is higher definition, and the other one gives you like 4 screens or something.
Yeah, you have to pay attention to plans. In the case of the ones that stream channels, a lot of times one tier is just like your cable plan. One plan will have certain channels, then you go up, and the next plan will have more channels, and the next plan will have more channels. So you kind of have to pay attention. Others like Disney Plus, Discovery Plus, those don't offer any kind of live channels, but you watch a huge vault of shows and or documentaries, whatever, that are available from that service. And then others of them, like Hulu has a live version and like the $7 a month on-demand library. I was thinking of another one that does that, Philo. which is a really cheap service that offers a lot of channels, also has on-demand content. So generally speaking, if you find one that streams live content from channels, they also offer on-demand content, but not vice versa. So it can be a little kind of in the woods to figure out precisely what you want and what you're looking for. So we'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute. If you want to kind of narrow down in your mind, what do you watch most in terms of what shows, channels, things like that, that's going to make it a little easier to figure out how you want to proceed and what you want to look for in terms of something accessible. Then it's just a matter of figuring out how it works on your chosen platform, whether you have a Fire TV, Fire Stick, an Amazon or an Apple TV, a Roku. Actually, let's say something really quickly. I have one more thing I want to get to before we break for questions, but let's talk a second about Roku. Did we even mention it? That is another quote unquote box. They come in sticks and boxes as well, just like the Fires. But Roku has this thing. Roku says their boxes are accessible, and yes, they do have a voice, but there's an important caveat to note about the Roku voices.
Voice. let me say this before I say what I'm going to say. Speech is subjective.
Oh yes.
And the voice on the Roku devices is very
synthesized.
Yes, very synthesized. So you're not going to get human speech out of that box. It's kind of like something from maybe the mid 90s. If you listen to some of those old synthesizers, that's what the voice sounds like. They probably, truthfully, didn't want to pay royalties to TTS developers to have a higher quality voice. Now, the Fire tablets, or not tablets, the Fire TVs, for example, they have Ivona voices, which are very, very human sounding. They're very clear. The thing about those is Amazon owns Ivona, so Amazon can just, plop those voices on there and whatever, because they're their voices. So again, speech is subjective. The Samsung TV has really, really decent voice. Actually, it's pretty good. So,
and the Apple TV uses voices from Nuance.
Right.
And
Nuance or Alex. You can use Alex.
Yeah, you can use Alex too. So if you got Alex on your iDevice, then you'll be familiar with his voice. So yeah, in fact, you'll be familiar with the Nuance voices from your iPhone or your iPad. So those are the voices available. This is my personal opinion here. My issue with the Roku voice is it's really low quality to begin with in terms of sound. We're not talking about the quality of the voice. We're just talking about the sound. It sounds a little muddy. And when you have a TV blasting behind it, so you're watching a show and you're trying to navigate, sometimes the little bit of ducking that it might do to try and compensate isn't enough. So I find myself having to strain to understand exactly what did that just say? Did that say rewind? Did that say, what does this say? So you really have to kind of pay attention with some of these. So while Roku has some really cheap options available in terms of their little boxes, and they have some really cool apps that you can access, sometimes it's going to be a little more difficult. If you're used to synthesized speech, you might be fine with it, but you might not. So you want to try before you buy, if as it were, and listen to a sample of what your Roku may sound like. If you can, because all the Rokus are different, so they have different models. So we're assuming the voices are still what we have in our models, because software is generally software. So, if you can try before you buy, it might be helpful too in making some of these decisions about, for instance, if you want one of these boxes, what you might want, what works best for you. Because as Chris said, speech is very subjective. Text to speech is people have very strong opinions about what they like and what they don't.
Let's mention accessibility really quickly on some of these apps. For example, I don't know if they're still in a range war, if you will, or something, but Roku and Google aren't exactly the best of friends right now. YouTube TV has actually never been accessible, to my knowledge, on the Roku. When you open it, it would be silent, so it wasn't usable at all on the Roku devices, but it would be on the Fire and or the Apple TV products. So that's just something to keep in mind. And I don't think, well, the silence was long before they started getting into their little arguments about whatever. So
We've tried for at least
never
3
worked.
years to open YouTube TV on a Roku.
Yes,
And we've never gotten it to work.
Right.
So there are things like that to keep in mind as well when you're looking at these services. Where do they work? Not only where do they work, period, but then where do they work best? So would you want to use it as an app? And it's sad that it has to be either or sometimes. Should I use it on my app or on my Fire Stick? Or, should I use it on my app or on my TV with all these built-in apps, but sometimes it is, unfortunately. Sometimes something will work very much better, very, very superior on one device than another when using a screen reader.
A couple 3 years ago, before we started this, when we started this cord cutting product in 2018, I got into Hulu, and Hulu was beautifully accessible on everything but the iPhone and iPad. So iOS was a no-go. And one day Apple had an update, and sure enough, it became accessible again. So it just depends. So
yeah, these are the little struggles that you face. Now, there's one cool thing about having a live streaming service. Sometimes they allow you a doorway into something called TV Everywhere. So you've heard these commercials like for your favorite show, and it says watch tomorrow at 10 p.m. or watch on demand. What that usually means is you can go into that channel's library of goodies, whether it's Nat Geo or HGTV or A&E or whatever, go on their app and watch the show on demand. But there's a catch. You need a service, in some cases, that will let you in to that network's library of goodies so that you can watch them on demand. And a lot of these services like Hulu and Philo, and I know there are others, will allow you, probably YouTube TV, I'm sure, will allow you access to the full library of on-demand content that network offers. Now, the trick to that is, again, this will make you download, in the case of an app, another app. So say the A&E app. Let's just use that as an example. You would be then seeing how accessible that app is in order to perhaps watch more on-demand content. So these are all just little things. You may be starting to think, gosh, maybe I should just keep my cable, right? But these are things you just kind of have to keep in mind. We're giving you all these, we're trying to be transparent with all these things because they're out there and they're little gotchas that you might experience. It doesn't mean you're necessarily going to experience them. You might not want all the bells and whistles. You might just want to say, okay, I want this show and this show and this show, and that's it. I don't care about anything else. If you can find ways that work for you to access those shows, you're golden. No problem. So it really depends on what you want. We're just kind of throwing out the things that you most need to know when you're kind of starting this journey. And with that, let's break and see if anyone has any questions.
We have a few questions. And first question on the floor is Alan. Alan, if you can please unmute yourself.
Yes, I have two questions, okay?
Yes.
Okay. I got cable, okay, and all the cable companies tell me that they can hook up the A lady to the TV. But every time I ask them, they can't do it. They advertise that they could hook up the A lady to the TV, to my cable box. But when they come in, they said they don't do that. They're not qualified to do that. Why did they tell you that they could do that when they cannot do that?
there's a couple of questions. There's a couple of things. It's possible that for that instance, you need a skill that would connect to your cable box.
Mm-hmm.
That might be for
an A-lady skill.
Right, for her to connect, to control the cable box.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, yeah, that's probably the only thing I could think about, and I don't know why they're saying that they can do it when they come out and they say they can't. So that doesn't.
Very
That
strange.
would probably be an issue with the cable company, I would take.
Okay.
takes
Okay.
up.
Also, I have another two more questions. Okay, I have Maltese TV, and on the remote they have a microphone. You just press the microphone, hold it, and then you say go to channel 5, and it goes to channel 5. Okay, which I like that. That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
Okay, and then the second one is, what about? I know you've been talking about all these TV stuff. What about Pluto TV? Did anybody?
Pluto. I have a Pluto story about that actually. Pluto, when we were revamping our cord cutting course in 2020, Pluto was completely inaccessible everywhere we tried it. You could not. I tried it on Android. I tried it on, what do we use it on? Some kind of one of the set top boxes, either Apple TV or Fire TV, and it was just you could see the channels were there, but you didn't know what they were, and you could click on one and change channels, but you had no idea what you were changing to for some of these platforms. Then, within a week, literally, of us finishing the update to the course, this is how it typically goes, Pluto became beautifully accessible on Android and iOS. Gorgeous. Perfect. Recently, though, with the advent of iOS, where are we, 14? I guess when
14.6.
Yes, when 14 started, Pluto now does this thing. You can still read all the channels in Pluto on iOS. But when you move to a certain point, let's say I'm in my favorites or in any of the categories, it will spin me back around and only show me about 4 channels, and it'll spin me back around into one of those previous channels. So it's maddening. Even if you scroll the page, it will bring you back. So I think it's an iOS issue and not a Pluto issue, because it's doing this with other apps too. But yes, so the quick answer is, if you're using it on your phone, the answer is yes. It's beautifully accessible now. The problem is with this weird scrolling issue. If there's a channel or two that you like to watch, you could probably figure it out. I've heard that Pluto is enabling a search feature, but I haven't gotten it on my phone yet. That would probably help with some of that if you knew either the number or the name of the channel that you were trying to access. But I love Pluto TV. It's an awesome free option. I don't know. I haven't checked Android in the last probably 3 or 4 weeks, but the last time I checked it, it was dismal again, which makes me sad.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
Okay, Chris and Kim, we have about 5 people in line.
Wow.
Hold on, 6 people in line to ask questions. So I will call on you in the order that you raised your hand. So know that I have everybody. Christina, you are up next.
Hi, Kim and Chris. I have a question. I am finding, and I don't know if you guys.
Hello?
Oh, Christina, you muted yourself. Okay, there you go.
Okay, I thought
Ask
I
your
unmuted
question
myself.
again, please.
With Apple TV, I am finding it absolutely inaccessible. Are you guys finding that at all?
Admittedly, that's the one I've played with least lately, but I've seen that happen.
You can't even navigate it, and it's just, I mean, it's just bouncing. I didn't know if you guys had an issue with it or something. I don't know what I'm doing wrong with it, but I put it in all different modes, and it's really hard. I love the Fire Stick. I find the Fire Stick to be really good. My other question is there any services where you can get local news, or I guess you would have to do an app where you don't have to have your cable company?
Yes.
In any of the packages?
I think Hulu Live will give you ABC, CBS, NBC, maybe your local Fox. I don't know about your local Fox channel. Do you know, Chris?
Yes, they will.
Oh, that is your local Fox. Okay, so that one does. I think YouTube TV does. The other thing YouTube TV does is give you in many markets give you your local PBS, which is kind of cool. So you can get locals at least with those two specifically. They're a little pricey because it. For the news channels, especially, some of those are kind of good.
And would they have some of the other stations like Food Network, things like that?
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Food Network is almost everywhere. So if that's one you like, because that's one I like, that's in almost all of them. So yes.
How
so
much do they go for, like the YouTube and also the
what are we now? We're like $70.
You're roughly $65.
Yeah, 65-ish.
My cable bill now is $160 70. So.
Yikes! Yeah. Okay. Well, then that would help you a
But
lot.
that's with internet. That's with internet and
Gotcha.
phone, though, but
Right. Right.
but
There
it
are
was cut
also
back.
there are also accessible phone options too.
Oh,
That
Oh
are
yeah,
cheap.
that's a whole other class.
Yeah.
Magic Jack, you mean?
Whole
And
nother tech talk.
Yes.
thank you.
You're
Mhm.
welcome.
Okay, we have Ginny. Ginny, you are up next.
Okay, thank you. My question is, are the cable companies, due to all this competition, thinking of or cutting back on their costs at all? I can't imagine them sustaining their business unless they do that.
They aren't sustaining, they're steadily losing, and they keep going up on their costs. So we're seeing more and more of these streaming services pop up in the grouping of options available, and more. I use this site, and I mentioned it at the end of the class, called Cord Cutters News. And so I read about this stuff all the time, and it'll tell you how many, like this group where, whatever it is, Time Warner or whatever, has lost this many subscribers in quarter 3, and it's just amazing how many they continue to lose. So yeah, unfortunately, I think cable will eventually, the cable as we know it will eventually die. I mean, I would be shocked if it continues to sustain for more than maybe the next decade or so.
It doesn't make sense, though, that if they're losing their business because people are going to other things to save money because the cable's so prohibitive, they at least could do like don't charge you extra for each box and stuff.
Well, yeah, that's true.
That's very true.
That's true. The problem is they still have to pay the fees to their channels.
So unless the channel's negotiated with them for lower fees,
Right. Which ain't gonna happen.
see. Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Next up, we have Debbie. If you can please unmute yourself.
Hi, Kim and Chris. What
Hi.
a very interesting topic. I can't wait to listen to this. I'm so glad it's being recorded because you've given us so much information. I want to go back to the beginning when you were describing the different sticks and boxes. You mentioned a television, an actual television that had all of this stuff built in. And I didn't catch what you called that.
Fire Edition.
It was a television with a screen,
Yes.
the whole kit and caboodle.
It's the Fire Edition TV. Toshiba
Fire Edition.
Toshiba makes them. I want to say Insignia from Best Buy
I think it's
makes
Insignia.
them.
Yeah.
You want to make sure it's Fire Edition.
Fire Edition TV.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're fairly cheap. I mean, we're looking at what, $250 or something?
No, $150 for a
even cheaper.
32-inch. Yeah. If
Yeah,
you want to get bigger, you can go to 45, 50,
Yeah, you can get the
65
larger
inch
ones.
TVs too.
But you can
And
turn on
how's the-
accessibility and they work out of the box. You can do the whole setup
Wow.
yourself.
That's wonderful.
I'm sorry, I
And how's
cut
the
you off.
voice on that when you were
Beautiful.
talking?
It's
Is it?
awesome. Yes, that is
Okay.
that is one of the Ivona voices that we mentioned. They're probably in my opinion at least, they're the most superior voice in the text to speech arena for TVs.
Now, if you still had cable, can you use it on that? And use all
Absolutely.
these voices?
Yes.
Yes.
Or you can add any of the other
Yes.
services that you're
Yes.
talking about.
Yes.
Exactly.
The thing
Okay.
with cable, let me just clear something up real quick. If you have a cable box and you connect the cable box to one of these talking TVs, irregardless, and the cable box does not talk, does not have its own voice, and you switch to that cable box, you have no voice. The TV is not smart enough to be able to read the cable box, if you will. So the cable box still has to talk.
Mine does. I have
Okay, then you're-
Altice.
Yep. So there you go. So that
Okay.
would work. When you flip to your HDMI where the cable box is, then your cable box's voice kicks in.
So all the menus, they read out
Yes.
loud.
Yes.
Oh, thank
Indeed.
God.
Yes.
Yes,
everything.
Thank you so
Yes.
much.
You're
You're
so
welcome.
welcome.
Quality. Tell me one more time.
Fire
Fire
Edition.
Edition TV,
Yes.
right? Okay,
Yep.
thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Okay. Next up, we have Clark. I have everybody written down, so just be patient. Clark, you're next.
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
I had a question regarding the, so when you were talking about like some TVs like Samsung, which I have,
Mhm.
they have a voice guide, but it's dimmed. But I have a voice guide on my cable box that's turned on. So does the Samsung know to dim that feature if it's already on the cable box?
No,
Like
I don't know why that's dimmed.
yeah, it's because I guess my main issue is, I guess I'm not sure, there's a difference between I guess the voice guide and the audio description, because they are advertised, my cable company Verizon advertised that they have audio description, but nothing works with audio description.
Yikes.
And so someone said that, you know, to take the TV and turn that voice guide on, but you can't, it's dimmed. And I called Samsung and they said, well, it's something wrong with the cable box. And the cable company said there's something wrong with the TV, you know, something we call Samsung. So I don't know what to do. I paid, you know, I got that box particularly just for audio description,
Specifically.
and it's not working. And I called like 5 times and half of them don't even know. They're not familiar
Yeah,
with
of course.
accessibility.
Yeah, because
So-
that Samsung, you should be able to go into settings on the TV and turn on voice guide. Maybe there's some setting on the Samsung that might be preventing voice guide from coming on. That
And
might,
voice guide and audio description, for what it's worth, should not be the same thing. They should
They're
be two
not.
different critters.
right.
Right, so voice guide on the Samsung, what is that doing? That's
It's a
telling you what
screen
channel
reader
you're-
for the TV.
Yeah, it's a little screen reader. So it would walk, you know, as you waltz through your menus with your remote and things, it should be telling you what, you know, verbally what you're passing.
Right, but see, my cable box already does that.
I wonder
With
if
that
that's,
function, I
yeah,
turn
I
it
don't
on,
know.
and
I
that's-
wonder if that would make a difference. If,
Yeah, that's
because
what I was
that's
saying. If I
on,
had
yeah.
that turned on, if I had that turned on, maybe that's why it's dimmed. I haven't given that
I don't
one a
know if
try.
it's smart enough to know, you know, that the other one's on. That's a real quandary.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
really weird
Ugh.
because,
It's
Yeah,
always maddening when you
uh,
buy something for a specific purpose and no one knows how to make it work. It's like, great.
yeah.
but your
Yeah.
audio description stuff should be coming through your cable box.
Yeah, and
For
it's
shows
not.
that offer it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they told me where you go to find out, and they gave me the channel, like Discovery Channel, and nothing happened. So, I don't
Oh,
know.
wow.
Yeah, and no one
Oh.
can figure it out. So, okay.
Oh, that's frustrating.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you guys maybe had a clue about how it would, you know, try to figure
I wish
out
we
what the
did.
issue is. Yeah. Okay. But thanks.
Okay. Next up, we have Lori.
Hi, Tim and Chris.
Hi,
Hello.
Lori.
Actually, Clark just dovetailed right into audio description, although you're talking about cutting the cable cord and the different platforms, devices, and TVs and services, then audio description is yet the next like piece or caveat.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it is.
Because I've even found that, you know, the program NCIS, yes, audio description is beautiful, lovely. You get the TV, get the cable, get it, the accessibility piece turned on, the audio description's on, but guess what? If you miss the program, it's not, if you go to use it on demand,
It's
not there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Same
do
thing.
all of
Mhm.
these other services, you know, if you know a basic mainstream program such as NCIS that, you know, the main broadcasting network provides it, but they only provide it live for my cable provider. So the cable provider for on demand, it's not there. Is that similar or the same for all those other services, or each one's very, very different?
It's basically the same, unfortunately. Now, if you DVR it, you might do better. I always thought Clarice would have audio description because that's kind of what I'm into now. And of course, that's a CBS primetime show. And same thing, on demand, or even my DVR can't access it. Not there. Go into the alternate channel. That's the problem. And I'm using a service that nobody can subscribe to anymore. I'm using AT&T TV Now as my primary cord cutting service. But the same thing, unfortunately, applies to some of these others. Hulu Live, don't they have an audio description thing, don't they?
They do.
Where you can,
yes.
yeah. I think YouTube TV does now as well, but I think the problem is with some of that, you are going to run into that issue, and you know, it's kind of hit or miss. You might get lucky, and some of these might work either through DVR or on demand. I would expect that DVR would be a more likely happy option for audio description as opposed to on demand, but because it's recording, quote, the live program. But it's hard to know. You know, I was like that with Clarice. I thought, yeah, I'm going to get audio description even though I DVR'd it. Nope, no dice, no audio.
Let's talk a second since we're in audio description mode right now.
Yeah, let's just at least hit the ones that have it.
Right. Netflix is probably king for audio description.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of stuff on Netflix that is audio described. A lot of
their originals are described now.
Yep. They're even going back and describing older movies. I watched Back to the Future 2 and 3 the other few months ago on Netflix, and they had audio descriptions. So that was really, really nice to know. Disney Plus is another one.
Another king
that
of audio
has
description.
Lots of audio descriptions. And if you subscribe to some of these things, some of the older movies, like for example, when I first got Disney Plus, I wanted to watch this movie that I saw when I was a kid. It was really cool. And I watched it without audio descriptions. And about 6 to 8, 10 months later, I went back to it and it had audio descriptions. So they were putting audio descriptions onto the older stuff.
Sometimes they add them.
Yeah.
Amazon Prime, I think, now has some audio described content in its library.
Mhm.
Hulu, as mentioned a moment ago, has some of their originals like The Handmaid's Tale, Castle Rock. Those are two I'm coming off the top of my head that I know have audio description. So for the most part, those that we just mentioned have it. Anything else? Not so much.
Now let's define audio description for those who don't know.
Narrated track
right
in the background describing the action.
Right. That's exactly what it is.
Yes.
So and so just got hit in the head with a frying pan. It would say that. So
okay. Thank you for that. And we have 4 people so far.
Wow.
4 more questions. Next up would be Aaron. If you can please unmute yourself.
I want to ask about the YouTube TV app. How does it work? The YouTube TV app. How does it work on iPhone and all the other platforms? Like, is it accessible?
The last time we tried it was beautiful.
Yes. It's very nice.
We turn on and off these services all the time because we can't afford
just to check them. Yeah, right. That'd be a lot of money. So every few months we'll turn one on and check it. And that one is an especially beautiful one on pretty much all the platforms. Well, a lot of them. I won't say everything, but a lot of them. The iPhone, you're going to have no issues. It's very
Android
nice.
as well. It's
Android
nice.
as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. But on iOS 14, I have experienced the voiceover is very jumpy. I know
That's iOS though. That's not the app.
It was laggy.
Oh yeah, that's the app. That's unfortunately an iOS issue right now. Let's hope 15 resolves some of this stuff.
Well, thank you.
The iOS 14 was not. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for asking. Thank you for asking.
Sure.
Thanks, Aaron. Good question. Suzanne, you are up next.
Hi, Chris and Kim.
Hi, Suzanne.
I'm going to ask you the financial part of all this. Yep. So I cut my cable and I still need internet.
Correct.
And then I have maybe Netflix and maybe Disney or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right now I have cable, internet, and the landline. It's called Triple Play, and I pay, I don't know how much, it's about $130, I guess. So how much is, if you just have, what is the average internet cost for your Wi-Fi?
That would depend on the speed that you have. Like I was just looking at Spectrum cable this afternoon.
Mhm.
Their 200 megabit down service is $49 for 1 year. Their
Oh, wow.
For a
yeah
year?
because you're signed into a year contract.
Oh, so a month per.
Yes.
A month.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. I was
Yes.
losing it there. For a second.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I was
That's
like,
what I-
what?
Yes, that's
Right,
what I
okay.
meant. I would have switched in a heartbeat. What are you kidding? Okay. And then their gigabit one was $103 a month for the
For
year.
the first year.
Right. And that's just for the internet itself.
Yeah.
They didn't even-
But if you wanted, now I'm leaving phone out for a second, but let's go back to your example. If you wanted Netflix and Disney Plus specifically as your only cable options, you're looking at just over $20 a month for
Okay.
both of them.
And
Disney,
then whatever
Right.
the internet is.
Whatever
Yes.
the internet is. Yeah.
Yeah.
and Disney Plus actually allows you to sign up for a year, which you get about 2 months for free.
Yeah. That's what I did.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're
Mhm.
welcome.
All right, next up, we have 4 people in line. Michael, you are next. If you can please unmute yourself.
All right. Am I unmuted?
You are.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Hiya, folk.
Hi.
So I, excuse me, I listen to your podcast regularly,
Mhm.
and
Thank you.
you guys do a great job.
Thank you.
I wanted to say I have called the cable people, for those who are not ready to cut the cable, and I told them I wanted to cut the service. So all of a sudden they become negotiable.
Yep.
And
That's true.
somebody called me and said, well, my job is to make sure you don't leave us. So I
Yep.
negotiated with them and got them to drop the price. So
Nice.
you can do that. You just have to play the game
Mhm.
and say, I'm out of here. And and they sometimes they say, well, what are you going to do? And just rattle off a couple of different services. I'll go there. And all of a sudden they want to play with you. So just in case you're not ready, you can negotiate. Say a friend of mine is getting it for this, and be sure your friend is getting it for that. But you just really need to because they are desperate to keep people.
Years ago, I had satellite service, and I called them to cancel because I hadn't turned the TV on in 2 years, and I was paying for it, right?
Right.
So the guy goes, okay, well, what are you going to do? Read all the time? I said, yeah, actually, I am. Goodbye.
So when are you guys getting married is the big question.
August.
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 Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
All
All
right.
right, thank you for that question, Michael. We're going to go now. Next up, we have Clark again. Clark?
Hi.
Hi.
This is just another audio description question, and
Mhm.
like, oh boy, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, it seems like HBO Max. I have that. It seems like in March they launched the audio, because then when I first tried to use it, it was inaccessible with voiceover
Mhm.
on an iPad, as well as no audio description. But now they actually came out with their audio description now of all their original content in their TV shows.
Yeah, thank you
And,
for mentioning that. That's one that we haven't,
yeah.
neither of us has played with that one as much lately. I
Yeah,
remember when the
and-
Wonder Woman audio description came out, and then
Yeah,
I
because
think
I'm
they
watching the current
ended.
TV series, Mara Easttown. I'm not sure if anybody heard of that. And that's
Oh, yeah, I've heard of it.
well, yeah, it's an audio description, and actually it works now with voiceover swiping and things like that.
Nice.
Oh, that's great to know.
works. Yeah, so they did. I read up on it on the internet. They said they were coming out with it in March to make it accessible, to visually impaired people. So yeah, they did it. I think they recognized. I guess maybe they saw their competition like Netflix
Yeah.
to do it, and then they decided to do it. Then it was interesting what you said, because I noticed as well. Like I think on demand they may not give you.
Yeah, it's a
the-
big
the-
gotcha. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know anybody. Most of my people here in Jersey, they seems like I talk to my fellow watchers at cable, and they have Comcast, and they seem to enjoy it with the audio description. But I have Verizon because they said they use it, and I used the Verizon in the past. but it doesn't seem to work. I don't know why. I was talking about that before, so I'm totally frustrated. Yeah, but most people I know have Comcast, and they say it works well for them. So the audio, they pick up the audio description TV shows.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Terry Ann.
Hello there, Chris and Kim.
Hello. Hello.
First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
The interesting thing is I am thinking about cutting the cord, and I have a Comcast. And, you know, when I talk to them about cutting the cord, because I have my landline bill with AT&T, so I don't have it with them. I just have my cable TV and my internet with them. And eventually I'm going to get rid of my landline with AT&T and go somewhere else. But they keep saying, well, yeah, if you get rid of your cable and you still want internet, it's going to cost you more than you're already paying for both things, or if we gave you a deal for all three things. And so what do you do about the internet piece of the puzzle?
If I were you, I would probably threaten to leave.
Yeah, I have.
And then they're not playing ball with you?
Well, they have given me, I mean, I'm just paying $85 right now for my very basic cable, and I don't even get all of my local channels. They keep cutting those. Yeah.
I know when I did it, I had phone, internet, and Fios. I have Verizon Fios, and a couple years ago I said I don't care about phone. I actually disconnected it because I got too many spam calls. I said, and I don't care about TV. I said, I want internet. I says, what can you do for me? And they made my speed 10 times faster, and I was paying less. So it was, you know, it's something to consider and figure out what you can do to make your bill a little bit lower too. I mean, it was, I'm talking, it was like $30 lower. It was unbelievable.
Well, I will try that because, I mean, last year they said, no, we can't do that with the internet. You're going to have to pay more if you just want internet, but we'll give you internet and cable for this amount. But like I say, I don't even have all my local channels.
Right.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You're so welcome.
All right, we have about 4 more people standing online to ask questions. Next up, we have Tom. Tom?
Hi, Chris and Kim. Congratulations too.
Thank you very much.
Now, you mentioned before, I have a Samsung TV, and I have Comcast, so thank God I could navigate the TV. But how would anybody else navigate what's on TV as far as what's coming up? How do you do it?
Kim, what was the name of that app you use on the phone? You can.
That's an option. What is that called? There's an app. Of course, I don't know the name of it in a second. There's an app that you can download. Well, okay, NFB Newsline's one option. They have a free app that you can download on your phone, and you can see your channels. So you can see all your channels coming up on your guide. And then you can find out based on that, oh, cool, my favorite show is coming on HGTV in an hour. I can watch it, or I can DVR it, or I can do whatever I need to do. So there are apps on the phone. Of course, I don't remember it now. There's another really great one that I found. It'll actually notify you when your favorite shows are on, send you a push notification. And I'd never be able to find it on my phone, or I'd look right now. But there are some very cool ones that you can access. Some are more accessible than others. I mentioned NFB Newsline just because it's a very accessible app, and it's a free app. That's an option. If you have with some of these TVs, they will move you through some of the guides. It depends on kind of what you're doing and how you're using it. Like the Fire TVs, for instance, they have a guide on there. Depending on what you have loaded, either with your cable channels or with the streaming service that you're using. It can walk you through the guide channel by channel and program by program. So it really depends on what TV you're using. But if your TV doesn't have an accessible guide, I personally recommend an app, because at least that way, if you have 4, 5, 6 channels that you watch regularly, you can kind of keep abreast of what's coming on that channel during the time you know you're going to be watching, and see if it's something you want to see.
You can also use NFB Newsline on the phone too.
Oh yeah.
All right. And then, well, this is another thing I have. I have Alexa.
Yep.
And one day I just stumbled into it I said, what's on channel so-and-so today?
Yes, that'll work too.
Yes, indeed.
And that's how I navigate the TV now. I mean, she's very, it's unbelievable. The only problem is I came from up north, moved down here to south. The big difference is I was used to, just numbers, go to 55, I would go from there. I knew what was on. Now down here with the high definition, you're 840, 850, 860.
Yep.
The only problem now is I can't remember all the call letters.
Oh no.
The Travel Channel, Discovery Channel, there's so many of them, it's like, it's unbelievable.
Yep.
But
yeah, sometimes a cheat sheet can be helpful for those things.
Right. And all right. So then the other thing is, like I said, I have the Samsung TV, but if I go into settings, you said that there's a voiceover in settings that will tell me when I change the channel.
Yes.
Okay. I have to have my tech daughter-in-law look into that for me. Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're very welcome.
All right. Next up, we have Alan.
Hi.
Hi.
I have another question. Two of them. I'm looking to buy a Fire TV, and I was looking and I investigated the Amazon Fire TV. I was in the store for over an hour. Okay. Now all of these Fire TVs, do they have the A lady in them?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Now the one that I'm looking at with the Amazon, for me to turn the TV off and on, I have to buy a special box for that. Okay. In other words, like if I sit on my couch and the TV's on the other side of the room, I can say, okay, turn off and on my TV. But you have to get a special box for that, which costs like $119.
It's probably the infrared thing, but if you are using the Fire TV, there's a button on the remote. It's a power button that'll turn on off the TV. There's no point in talking to the TV.
And it makes a little sound,
right,
so you know it's gone on or gone off.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So do you recommend the Amazon Fire TV?
That's what we both. That's what we have. Yeah, that's what we use.
What about you say the other TV? They all Fire TVs too, like Samsung and stuff like that?
No, the Samsung's not, but Chris has a talking version of the Samsung. But it does sound pretty good. He refuses to get rid of it, so we're gonna keep that in the house.
The best one is the Amazon Fire TV.
It's our preference. I mean, I won't tell you it's better or worse, but that's the one that we personally prefer.
Okay, and the other question before, the gentleman said that Spectrum, you can't get Spectrum in New Jersey. They will not. You cannot get it. The only place you can get Spectrum if you live in New York or other places, because the other cable companies will not let Spectrum in New Jersey.
Oh, no Spectrum in Jersey.
Yeah,
okay.
You have Spectrum in New York.
Yep, because my son told me about that because he lives in New York. So, and like I said, now, is this Amazon thing easy to set up? Because I know nothing about, electronics and stuff. So I was going to have the Geek Squad come in and set it all up for me.
If you feel comfortable
you can get the voice. Yeah, if you get the voice on, I don't think you're going to have too much problems, because all it really is like a channel scan. And it's one plug that you plug into the wall,
and it's logging into your Amazon account and your Wi-Fi.
Yes, there is that part. It's logging into your Wi-Fi, things like that. So if you want somebody, but I don't think you necessarily need Geek Squad. If you got a handy person who's good at typing on it and can just zoom through there, I don't think you're going to need to actually pay somebody to do it.
Can I schedule my special? According to what they were telling me with this Amazon TV, is that if I watch special channels at certain times, I can just program it into my TV and it comes on automatically without me telling to put it on. Is that correct? I'll say go to my special channels, and it will just go right to the special channels.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I
No?
don't know.
Okay. Because according to what they say with this Amazon Fire TV, they were saying it's one of the best out there, and you can program your special channels that you like to watch. Only
Well, you have the
can-
live guide. You can add favorites. Maybe that's what they were talking about.
Okay.
You can
Okay.
favorite,
Or maybe you can
favorite
say
channel.
go to block channel.
You can do that too.
Maybe with
Yeah.
A-Lady, with the A-Lady
Yes.
built in.
Yes.
And also, one more question: can I hook up my telephone to the A-Lady?
You can use A-Lady like a phone. I mean, you can
Yes,
tell
that's-
your A-Lady to call my daughter, or call, give her number, and have that work. Or
So you're talking about your landline to make outgoing calls?
No, my cell phone.
No, no.
No, because my son, when I had my cell phone, I bought the Amazon pill, okay, and he hooked up my whole phone into that Amazon pill, my cell phone, and I could call anybody I wanted on the cell phone. So he hooked it up that way.
Alan, that sounds like a good topic for a future class.
Okay, all right, okay. I'm sorry,
Televisions and Ursula,
Okay.
you are up next.
Okay. Thank you.
Ursula? Ursula?
Yeah, I'm trying. Hold on.
Oh,
There she is.
Am I there?
You are here.
Good. Yeah, we hear you, Ursula. Thank you.
First of all, Chris and Kim, my head is spinning. I am not very good in technology. You have given so much information. I want you to come to my house and I have only a basic question. I have Optimum, and the remote does not have voice or anything. If I were to get a Samsung TV, would I be able to use their remote to talk to the TV, or do I need it on my cable remote also?
You would need it on the cable if you're talking about switching channels and stuff on the cable box with your voice.
Okay.
Then yes, you would.
Oh darn.
The other option would be, again, the Fire TV edition with ALEXA built in. If your cable box would allow you to use that option to change channels, that's another option. So
right.
it's stuff all to look into.
I will look into a lot of stuff. Thank you so much. You
You're
got me
welcome.
started.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Christina.
Hi, it's me again.
Hi.
What is it okay, so the Amazon Edition Fire TV, so it has Alexa built in, so you can ask her to do anything, and then has
Yep.
all the Fire Stick apps like YouTube already built into the
Uh-huh.
TV, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, I have to have one.
Or
And
if they're not built in, you could download them to the TV.
Yep. It's got a little app
Okay.
store in there.
Okay. Oh, nice. Because I that's how the Fire Stick is too.
Yep.
Exactly. It's the same thing. It's just a TV with a screen.
Oh, nice. The other thing is with the cable companies, they are horrific. They're horrible. So they do get you back in, but then once they have you back in, then they gradually start building your how much you're paying up again.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they'll put you in for a contract, and whatever that contract is done, then you're
You have to renegotiate with them
Yep.
again.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it's raised. So I think all of us on this call should just cut the cord and just all of us just leave our cable companies.
Unfortunately, you still need the internet.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
so
real
there's
gotcha.
No way out,
Mhm.
right?
No. The only other way you could do it is if you had an unlimited cell phone plan, you could watch your TV on your phone.
It might buffer a lot though.
Yeah. Now with that Roku, is that what it's called?
Roku.
Roku, the box.
Yeah, the little
The
box.
R box. There
The
you go.
R box.
So that's just like an attachment like we have with the
Uh-huh.
Fire Stick?
Yep,
Yep.
it just plugs in an HDMI port. Yep.
Okay, because I didn't know what was the big
Yeah,
difference.
it's just like an Apple TV or a Fire Stick. It's
Okay.
just another option.
Thank you. This is so great. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
We have another question. Hilton, thank you for being so patient.
I just have a quick question. I tuned in late, but I got the gist, and I got in just in time to hear a juicy nugget, which was that HBO Max is now providing audio description. Is that now? I have it with my provider, cable provider, and would I be able to get it through my the audio description through my Xfinity, channels, or how do I activate that on my HBO Max app on my Apple TV or my iPhone?
Usually the way activating audio description works for apps and set-top boxes is you need to know something that has audio description on it. Then you need to go into the menu while it's playing and switch the audio track into the audio description. That's normally 99.99% of the time how that works.
So it's a one-stop shop. You do it once, you set it and forget it.
Okay, so now I've set it in my on my phone settings on my iPhone. I have
No,
so
it's not
iPhone.
there. It's
Yeah,
not
that's
there.
not the one.
Okay.
That's the confusing part.
You have to do it within the app itself. So if you're talking about
Okay.
HBO Max, you need to find that Apple iPhone one is only for Apple stuff.
Well, not necessarily, because now Netflix comes in with audio description as well. I never had to set that.
Okay, so Netflix must have changed that. When I
Yeah,
started
that's
with
a new
Netflix,
thing because I've never seen that.
yeah, when I started
I
with
think-
Netflix years ago, I
We had
do
to go do it. Yeah.
Right.
No, I think
that's
it would
cool.
just kind of goes by your device, knowing that you have audio description set in your settings, in your accessibility settings, and it, I guess, automatically.
Not all of them do
And-
that though.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
double
oh.
check the HBO Max settings
so then-
themselves.
Okay, so then I'll go into the settings for HBO Max. I guess they'll have some audio settings.
Yeah, there
You
might
have
be
to
some
do
audio
it-
settings.
and-
You have to do
and-
it, like I said, the way that it normally works is you have to do it while the thing is playing.
Yeah, while I was playing, go to it. That would be quite
Mm-hmm.
annoying to do that for every show that comes on.
Yeah, well, you won't have
I'm
to.
hoping
just
that
once.
I'm hoping
You
that
set
we
it
can
once and
do
forget it.
Yeah.
But you have
Okay,
to know
I'm-
you have to know one thing that has audio description, or you won't be able to find
Yeah,
it in the
just
menu.
pick one that you know has it,
Okay.
and then it'll magically start. up.
The guy that was on earlier mentioned the show that he's watching now. What was the show?
This is Clark.
Mayor
Mary Easttown.
Mary Easttown.
Ma-
Yeah.
Mary Easttown. All right, thanks a lot, buddy. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thanks for
I
that.
was just gonna say, I just what I did is, I use an app. I use it on my iPad, and I
Yeah.
just the first time I went in, I switched it to audio description, the language to English. Then it says audio description.
Yep.
And
Ah,
I just did
okay.
it once, but then it does it for all the shows. And then
Okay, great.
there's a filtering as well, where you can just filter.
Oh,
on
you can
Okay.
filter by described. That's great.
Oh, that's
right.
awesome.
Super
for
cool.
shows
Now-
that that tells you it's going to be
Mhm.
audio description.
Nice.
Just a heads up on the Apple TV, the HBO Max app is horrific.
Oh
Terrible.
no. Ooh.
Terrible. So just a heads up for anybody running it on an Apple TV. But thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate
You're so
always
welcome.
the time and that you guys volunteer for us. I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you, Hilton. Clark, you had a question, or did you
Oh, I
intertwine
just
that
did.
question?
Yeah, I intertwined. Yeah, I just jumped in, so I'm good.
Okay. Does anyone else have questions? All right, I think we can, we have more to cover.
Yeah, the main thing I want to emphasize is kind of what all your questions have kind of brought to light, which is you want to do your homework. You don't want to dive into this without having some idea what you want. So, for instance, if there are live channels you watch, so somebody mentioned Food Network, which is one of mine too. A lot of these services offer it. You can find it with Hulu Live. You can find it with YouTube TV. You can find it with Philo or Philo, however you say it. It's Philo for anyone looking. A lot of these live services offer that. The other thing you want to know is if you have a favorite TV show, something like that, you want to make sure you can access it. You might not have to get a live service. If you just want to watch it on demand, then if it's like a CBS show or something, or if it's NCIS, you can get Hulu. Not the live version of Hulu, because Hulu has kind of multiple tiers. You could just do the on-demand version of Hulu for like $7 a month. Problem solved. It really depends. Or if you're heavily into audio description, Netflix might be your thing. If you want to make sure that you're watching a significant number of shows that are described, then that's an option for you. So it really is about doing your homework, figuring out what works for you and what you want, because we all have these different TV watching experiences and what we want to watch, our own preferences. So that part is very important. Also, I just wanted to touch on, and we've mentioned this, and you guys mentioned this in questions, which is great. You asked great questions about the being able to use assistants like A-Lady and Google with some of these services. So Hulu, I know, does it, doesn't it? With all of them. Can't you use Hulu, Chris? And
Yes.
because that's your service of choice. So you can tell Hulu, watch A&E, watch HGTV, watch Food Network, and it will flip to that for you. So that part is very, very handy for things like that. So let me see. There's one thing I know I wanted to watch. Let's see, where'd I go? Okay, and then we already mentioned the smart TV option. So you want to check if you're, for instance, if you're looking for a channel, you might want to type something into your favorite search engine of choice, like cord cutting Food Network or cord cutting Nat Geo Wild, whatever it is, and see which services offer it. There are articles upon articles upon articles that focus on this. And we want to mention a couple resources that might be helpful in kind of continuing to get started. One of them is a site that I alluded to earlier called cordcuttersnews.com. I visit this all the time, and it just tells you some of those cool stories. Somebody asked earlier about, I think it was Jenny who asked about why the cable companies weren't paying attention to some of this stuff. And that's the site that I reference a lot of time to see. This cable company lost this many hundreds of thousands of subscribers in Q3. I mean, it just gives you some really interesting stories. It tells you about maybe new services or how you can stream certain shows. So like, how do you stream the Oscars without cable? There'll be articles on that. So there are things you can check out there. They have a bunch of new stories every day. So it's kind of an interesting thing to check out. You can learn about some of these services there. There's sections for beginners. It's a really cool website. It's very accessible. It's really nice. We also have to toot our own horn for just a second and mention that the course that we spoke about earlier is 12 hours of information. We literally take you through some of these options and show you how they work. Now, one caveat to mention is we were talking about Pluto TV earlier. I think the way the course stood then, you don't have those weird focus issues that is an iOS problem now. I think it worked better on Android than it does now. I need to recheck Android to see if that has changed, if it's improved yet again. The issue with this, and y'all know this already, it's a moving target. It might work this week and not work next week, or vice versa. You always hope it's the vice versa and that things improve as opposed to getting worse. So you might find an oopsie in there somewhere where I said, oh, Pluto TV works awesome on Android, and right this second it doesn't. Generally, though, we do our very best to keep all that stuff up to date and as relevant as we can for where we are now. So the course is 12 hours of content. It walks you through a bunch of these services. You can see us use them. You can see them in action on various platforms. We don't use every service on every platform, but it gives you an idea. If it's something that you want to check out or learn more, the table of contents is up on the website, and you can visit us and learn a whole bunch of lot other things. Someone mentioned earlier, they were talking about the podcast. We have a bi-weekly podcast. We have a monthly free class. We're teaching a class tomorrow on how to accessibly hold a virtual or in-person event. For those of you who heard we're getting married in a couple of months, so you can imagine why that event just kind of popped into our heads to talk about. So we have a free virtual event every month. We have hundreds of hours of free goodies on our website, and we have the bi-weekly podcast. There's always a lot to learn and discover. So we try and give you lots of freebies in addition to, obviously, if you like us, you can feel free to buy something if you like to. Weddings get expensive. But you can visit, if you want to learn more about the course specifically, you can go to mysticaccess.com, which is mysticaccess.com/cut the cord, all one word, cut the cord. That will take you specifically to this course that we're talking about. It's $59 for 12 hours of material. I think it's 12, isn't it, Chris? Isn't it
It's
around
12, yes.
It is 12. Okay, good. And it's if you go to that link, it's no caps, or all lowercase rather, and all one word. That cut the cord part is all one word after the slash. So you can get there that way, or if you just visit the main page of mysticaccess.com, you can learn more than you ever wanted to know about what we do and what we offer. It's a big website. There's lots to do and hang out. And if you like what you've heard and you want to keep up with us, if you're interested, you can check out the podcast. We've got a new episode coming out every other Tuesday and one coming out next Tuesday. So always fun things to do and experience. And we always have new goodies in the pipeline. We are about to, in fact, in a couple months, well, let's see, by June 21st, we'll be releasing a new Fire Stick, Fire TV course available. So that's in process right now. We already have one on the Apple TV. It's a little out of date, but it's still very relevant, except for the iOS focus issues, which unfortunately I can't do anything about. But, there's a lot of stuff on the website you can check out, free stuff and paid stuff. And of course, events. We'd love to have you hang out with us if you liked what you heard.
Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing all of that, Kim and Chris.
You're
You're
welcome.
welcome.
Do we have any other topics to cover or any questions?
I think we've essentially wrapped up our piece.
Okay.
Between questions and my outline here, I think it's all been covered.
All right. So what we're going to do is we are going to wrap up our evening. I want to just say, great questions, everybody.
Yes.
Wow. Did we all learn a lot in television?
Excuse me, guys. This is Hilton here. Could I make one more?
Go ahead, Hilton. You have a question?
Yeah.
Actually, a comment real quick.
Okay.
You mentioned about focus issues with the Apple TV. I just got the new Apple TV 4K with the new remote.
Mm-hmm.
The new remote is awesome. You could turn off the swiping feature so that the buttons on the top is just a round click buttons. Click, the click circle.
Oh, that's nice.
Right, left, up and down, and just the enter. So turning off the swiping feature just made it click only. It makes it a world of difference. And navigating through your home screen and all that stuff is much easier. So something for you guys to look forward to.
Oh, that's fantastic. Good to know.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Hilton. Timothy, you have a question? You can unmute yourself, Timothy. *6. Are you on a call-in line, Timothy? Okay. I'll give him a second. All right, well, Chris and Kim, I really want to thank the both of you for joining the VLANJ Tech Talks. Your presentation was quite overwhelming. A lot of information, many things I've never heard. Fire Edition TV, talking TVs, the ALLEXA person TV, Samsung, a lot of very, very good accessible televisions and accessible apps for everyone, and that's good to know. And as Chris and Kim shared with Mystic Access, so please go onto their site and really check that. They have a lot of great information, as we well know, that they shared this evening. Just I want to remind everyone to please join the Tech Talks, a VLANJ Tech Talks Facebook page, and we will have this recording posted on that page, as well as a lot of other information. And stay tuned for the next Tech Talks. And I want to thank everyone for joining. Suzanne, do you have something you want to say before we say goodnight?
Yes, I just wanted to tell everybody that if they go to our Tech Talk Facebook group, that they'll have the recording of this show.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna need it.
Yes.
Yeah, we threw a lot out, you guys.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
a
that's a
lot of
good-
information. Very helpful. Very, very helpful and useful information.
Thank you so much, Chris and Kim. It was great.
Pleasure.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for the
Thank you.
opportunity, you guys.
No,
Yes,
you're
thank
gonna
you.
come back.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
sounds like that
we'd love
everyone
to.
wants you to come back. We thank everyone for joining, and we will see you on the next Tech Talks, which is June 23rd. And I wish everyone a very good night and stay safe. And Chris and Kim, congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
wishing you all the best.
Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank
you
you.
so
Bye. Thank you,
much.
guys.
Be safe, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.